Okay. How do you start a podcast again after 2 years? You just start, right? Start talking about something, girl. Start talking about one of them crazy ideas you got going around in your head. Purpose. Fuck that shit. What is our responsibility to this world? What is our responsibility to history? What is our responsibility to nature, to people, to society? We've been born into a generation where the story is that we are at crisis. Global warming, a society at war, a technological innovation that's out of control. I'm not trying to contradict the data of it, but what about the story that we're creating? And what if that story is entirely wrong? I mean, who the fuck are we to go around pretending like we know what the earth is trying to do, to go around pretending like we have the answer to that eternal and mysterious question of what the fuck is happening? Who the fuck are we? Now, the alchemists believed that their job was not to manipulate nature, but to facilitate nature, to speed up the processes that nature herself was naturally doing. The Taoists wanted simply to observe nature. Instead of imposing their own story on her, they wanted to see what she herself was doing. The idea that our role in this life is to find our purpose, and that somehow this purpose is supposed to contribute to a version of saving the world, is the story of our age. A lot of what turns people against themselves is this feeling of purpose. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And a lot of what makes us not watch each other's natures and support who the other people really are is that same story. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Who the fuck are you to know what someone should be doing or shouldn't be doing? And who the fuck are you to impose some shit on yourself that isn't fully feeding who you are? That's why all of our activists burn out. That's why this is a matter of life and death. Because the way that we think we're helping is exactly part of the problem. Because exactly what we think we should do is what we shouldn't do. I don't want you burning out. I don't want you coming out bruised and battered on the other side. I don't want you living a lie, ashamed to be who you really are, not in touch with your essential nature, and forcing yourself to be something you're not. We've been told that humans are bad, that we've all acquired some type of virus that is making us steal the future from our children. But what if the idea that the world is in a state of crisis due to a virus of consciousness is itself a virus? In the true sense of being a viral meme that has come to define this historical moment. What if it's part of the plan for all these things to die? What if it's part of the plan for us to move all of these crystals and minerals around to create a technological infrastructure? I feel like all of our stories describing what's going on, creating moral outrage left and right, all of it is just creating stories. Those are the same stories and dogmas that encourage us to repress our true nature. The stories that tell us that the world is in crisis come from the same place as the stories that tell us that we are bad, that our sexuality is wrong, that our creativity is dangerous, that our neighbors are out to get us. In evolutionary astrology, they talk about how you go through 3 stages of evolution. And trust me, I know evolution is problematic, but bear with me, I have a point. You go from consensus, where what you care about is fitting in, being part of the pack, to individuation, where it's about finding who you really are. Finding who you are that's different than the way that you've been culturally conditioned. And then into the spiritual stages, where what you care about is connecting with God, connecting with that greater sense. Now, the pattern of biological evolution goes that things come together into ecologies. Then the organisms within it define and distinguish themselves, finding their own particular individuality. And once they're firmly rooted into their particular individuality, they come back together, ratcheting up in complexity into a new and more diverse ecosystem. What I'm trying to say is I think we're trying to come back together into collectivity. We're trying to spiritualize without having gone through the stage of fully individuating. And that this sense of panic, that the world is in crisis, and this idea of purpose being something that's supposed to contribute to the healing of the world actually pulls us further away from our truth instead of closer to it. And I mean this in a very literal way. that until we find out who we are as individuals, we're not ready to come together into a collective hive mind. Until we really, fully, and completely individuate, we're not even ready for a community that's not just going to be cycling the same old stories of groupthink, followed by disillusionment that's characterized this tendency towards communal living for hundreds and hundreds of years. And if we've been cycling to this extent, it means that we're at an edge. And instead of the edge being to love your neighbor, which is what I was told, I think the edge is to say, fuck your neighbor. Is that we've been taught to love and value and fear and conform and please and fight our neighbor so much that everything that we've been doing to focus on our neighbor at all is taking us away from the process of individuating ourselves. You know, the Bible says, pay unto Caesar that which is Caesar. And Kurt Vonnegut says, pay no attention to Caesar. Caesar has no idea what's really going on. And Caesar certainly has no idea what the fuck is going on with you. There's never going to be a point where you're like, I've actualized, I'm ready, I'm good, you guys, I know who I am, it's all good, I'm done finding out who I am and living it. Actualizing is a dynamic process. And so instead of focusing on who we're going to be when we actualize, what we can focus on is developing and cultivating the tools to stay close to ourselves in our process. To know ourselves better, to unpack our feelings, to trust our feelings when they come out, to listen to our inner experience, to follow synchronicities, to be Taoists, not only with the natural world in terms of trusting the journey that she's in right now, but to be Taoists with ourselves. To support and love our true nature, instead of trying to impose a sense of purpose and a story of who we are, the same way that we're trying to impose a story onto who the earth is and what she's doing right now. What if for just 1 minute we were going to trust the earth? What if for just 1 minute we were going to trust nature? And trust that we came out of nature, that technology came out of us, that everything is on time and under budget. Just for a minute. Get humble. Get Taoist. Watch, listen, observe, have fucking faith. And then if we were going to apply that same thing to ourselves, away from this idea of purpose that's so clouded and shaped by what society defines as valid, what if we were going to be able to develop the tools to listen to ourselves, to follow our own intuition and trust our own process enough to find out what we really want and follow that? And what if that was the best way to follow God? Because you know what? We are not the fingers on the hand of God. We are not the thoughts of God. We literally are God. Like the holy lives inside us. And anything that tells you that you and the holy are separate is just part of those same fascist forces that created dogmas going back to the beginning. It's that same bullshit world of Catholicism and the fall from grace and the original sin. It's premised on a false dichotomy, sacred and profane, the body and the spirit, you and the holy. Those are the same dichotomies that enabled us to do all of this polluting and raping in the first place. That then leads us to believe that we're unholy all over again. Which is why you digging down, deep down, that is your responsibility to the world. That is your true purpose, is to listen to the holy within. And once you find your own wild, precious, insane little weirdo truth and bring it out, community will just happen. It'll just happen by you being you. Because the more that you actualize, the more that you'll actually like your community. If you come out of the closet as gay, there's a whole queer community waiting for you. If you come out of the closet as a psychonaut, there's a whole bunch of psychonauts out there for you. And this happens in broad strokes like that, but on the most subtle levels you can imagine. The closer you are to yourself, the more you will draw around you a community that truly supports who you are, as opposed to trying to impose a dogma or a reason for coming together or create a common system of meeting from an external force. You do you. That's your responsibility. And try this little thought experiment. What if everyone is against you and no one is on your side? Seriously. Everyone is against you and no one is on your side. Because this myth of community and premature collectivity is distracting us from this most noble, Taoistic, alchemical mission to be who we really are. What if you say, fuck everyone? Fuck everyone. Not because they're awful, but because that's part of what will help us listen to ourselves. Fuck everyone. Then you have nowhere to turn and nothing to distract you from your own essential nature. From that bit of star stuff, magic, spirit within you that can never be put down, that is your guiding light, that is your truth. There will be haters, and there will be a lot of self-criticism, because often we are against ourselves internally, and we are on the side of those same haters. So when in doubt, a little more self-love, a little more self-love. And after all, the haters make us famous. Yay, we did it. We made a podcast. And if you want to be on the team, the non-hater team, then instead of always telling people what you think they should be, watch for who people really are. And when you see it come out, support the fuck out of it.